Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 102 of D&D Discussions, a podcast for players and DMs alike where we cover a wide variety of topics to help you with your games. I'm your host, Ryan Reeder, and with me, as always, is my good buddy, Ben Bumhofer. How you doing tonight, Ben?
I am doing very merry, if you will. It's a wonderful time of year. I'm excited for the episode, and just overall, just happy to talk to you.
Yeah, this is an episode I always look forward to because this is our last episode of the year. We'll be back early January, right? This is kind of our Christmassy episode where we get to do our on the spot Christmas one shot, which is always it's been kind of a fun annual tradition for the last several years. So I'm very excited for tonight.
Me too. It is going to be full of fun and happiness, a big downer, but also a lot of fun and happiness.
Yes. So about that. Before we jump into our little holiday one shot, we wanted to go over some news because there's some really cool stuff. But there's also some really sucky stuff that just happened. But
Yeah.
I feel both of us would be remiss if we did not discuss this at least a little bit. So let's talk about that first. Let's kind of get the bad stuff out of the way first.
Yeah.
So this is not necessarily a Wizards of the Coast thing specifically.
This
is a Hasbro thing. Yeah, it affects them. So this is a Hasbro thing though. And for those who don't know, Hasbro is the parent company that owns a bunch of these other companies or brands or whatever. Wizards of the Coast does Magic and D&D and such, is one of the companies / brands that Hasbro owns.
Mm-hmm.
We record usually Wednesday nights and these release on Mondays. I believe yesterday, there was a big announcement that Hasbro announced there were going to be job cuts across the board 2 weeks before Christmas. 1,100 people affected across all operations. And this is because they apparently weren't hitting the numbers they arbitrarily picked to hit to please their shareholders.
Mm-hmm.
So you would think that Wizards of the Coast, being one of their most profitable things, Baldur's Gate 3 obviously doing insane numbers, winning ridiculous accolades, their D&D sales growing, their Magic the Gathering sales obviously doing huge, their digital segment being very big, would be spared because that's their golden goose right now.
Yeah.
But we've been seeing stuff come in through Twitter and LinkedIn and other things. Some people who I followed, a few of the game designers, a few of the people who worked at D&D Beyond, some art people, all being laid off from Wizards. And those are D&D people specifically. There's also some Magic people, some of their IT people, some of their tech people, among the 1,100 laid off. First of all, cover your virgin ears. This is all bullshit.
Yes.
Like, this is absolutely ridiculous. Not just in general, but 2 weeks before Christmas is also possibly one of the shittiest times that you could lay somebody off.
Mm-hmm.
And I get so angry when I see stuff, like, because they're bringing in, hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. Their CEO, who is Chris Cox, which is very appropriate apparently in this situation.
Yeah, who'd have thought?
Who'd have thought? Uh, Basically is saying, I'm so sad, this is this is so difficult. This is the only lever we have left to pull. The things aren't going the way, we wanted them to, and so forth. The man who has a salary of $1.5 million and made $9 million in compensation, uh, who is making the high level decisions, which means that much of the strategy, if there is screw ups, are attributed to him and his high level people. But obviously, high level people can't be affected by the decisions they make. And so the regular people who are actually doing all the hard work are the ones to suffer.
Mm-hmm.
This is late stage capitalism at work. This is the endless chasing of growth by shareholders, which is completely ridiculous and is something that is not sustainable in any way, shape, or form. We've seen this so much across not only this industry, the gaming industry in general. This has been a bloodbath of a year
Yep.
for the gaming industry, uh chasing these giant things. It's extremely disheartening. It's extremely aggravating, and I feel so horrible for these wonderful people who delivered are delivering these huge numbers, these 40% growth increases and such, and are still being laid off because someone else high above them made poor decisions, but doesn't have to suffer the consequences.
Yeah, and the fact that it all comes to the projected idea of what they could tell the shareholders of what they can make, and this is their way of preempting their explanation of how they're going to fix getting them even more money next time. It's disheartening for any sort of person who's not a CEO, whatever. you know every single job that I've worked where the company was privately owned has been a fantastic time. I've enjoyed it. They care about the employees. They push growth. There's, like a sense of profit sharing and everything as well. Then as soon as that company goes public, all of that goodwill, all of that growth, all of that like employee support is gone. Everything is towards the bottom line. Everything is all about just the money. And I'm not saying that businesses that there's businesses out there that aren't in it for the money. They're all in it for the money. But how they treat their employees and how they get that money is a big factor in, what is actually successful. There have been plenty of examples of businesses that actually have profit sharing among the employees themselves, where everybody owns a piece of the company, and those companies tend to just kind of skyrocket and continue to deliver. If you look at different cultures, the Japanese culture is a really good example of, hey, if the company does poorly, the CEO takes a cut in their salary. They're the ones who made the decisions. They're the ones who are doing that. So seeing just the greed in this is so disheartening, especially when it's coming from or it's affecting a section of something that I really enjoy and love to support. When stuff like this happens, you don't really want to give that support anymore, because that money is just going to line pockets of people who don't care about the people who work for them.
Yeah, it's a really disheartening thing, and a real kind of split between I knowing there are so many passionate people who are trying to make this really cool thing
Mm-hmm.
and who really love what they do, versus the corporate overlords who are doing nothing but chasing numbers. I think Christian Hoffer, who works writes for comicbook.com, kind of summed it up really well in a little mini tweet thread. So he says, just to clarify things, because I'm getting a ton of comments and whatnot, the layoffs at Wizards that occurred this week had nothing to do with anything else that happened at Wizards this year. Hasbro executives decided to slash the payroll because of the department's underwhelmed. A lot of very passionate and very kind people were fired because Hasbro wanted to preemptively answer investor questions about their company's underperformance instead of having them question their core business model that has faltered while their rival, Mattel, is thriving. Anyone who claims this is anything other than unchecked corporate greed and an indictment on a business model that prioritizes short-term profits over long-term equity for both employees and shareholders is a fool. And I thought that summed up the whole situation extremely well.
Yeah.
If you run a business, take care of your people. They'll take care of you. That's just how it goes. So we don't want to linger on this, but I feel like we would have been remiss if we did not talk about it, because it is a very important thing. It's been something that has happened far too often this year, especially within that industry, and it needs to be called out because it's ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. But moving on to something a little happier, a little more fun.
Yep, so this is pretty cool. This is pretty cool. This happened almost right after we recorded the last episode, so I was just like, ah, dang it.
That always happens,
D&D
though.
yeah, it really does sometimes. So D&D Beyond has added more third-party content. And this is third-party content that doesn't start with Critical Role or Darrington Press.
Yes.
Which is a fairly big deal. So D&D Beyond added Layers of Itharis, which is a Ghostfire gaming like set of layers for levels 1 to 20. And Ghostfire, for those who don't know, is a phenomenal third-party publisher. They have a setting called Grim Hollow, which is like a grim darky fantasy setting.
I didn't
That
know they
is
did Grim
very
Hollow.
cool.
Okay.
Yeah, they do Grim Hollow.
Yeah,
So
now I know who they are. Holy crap.
they got a whole world around it. They've kickstarted several different things to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars. It is a very reputable, a very big third party company. And so volume 1 and 2 is comboed in this Layers of Itharis that not only includes all the D&D Beyond stuff, but also has maps for the new maps alpha. So that's super cool. But not only that, Dungeons of Drakkenheim also went up, and this went up for pre-order because it's available or it comes out on December 21st. This is Dungeon Dudes, which are a very popular YouTube channel of D&D content. This is a combination, a Dungeon Dudes Ghostfire Gaming collaboration. So, and again, this, I assume this was kind of a collaboration with Ghostfire, and they pulled in the Dungeon Dudes piece because it was something that Ghostfire worked on them with. But it's a campaign, epic cosmic horror fueled DM ready campaign for levels 1 through 13. Again, it's that grim darky horror type thing. So there's not necessarily a ton of that in official content. We have things like Curse of Strahd, Tomb of Annihilation, a few of those types of things, but not necessarily a ton of this type of thing. So this kind of gives more into that grimdark horror genre, if that's something you like or if that's something your group wants to run. And it's a good precedent to see more third-party stuff on here, because not only does it allow you then to use all their stuff inside a nice digital tool set, and the maps now, but it gives those third-party publishers more exposure since that D&D Beyond user base is so big. So I'm hoping we just see more of this. Obviously, I'm sure a lot of third parties are fairly pissed right now uh, with Hasbro. So I don't know if that will end up putting a wrinkle in some of their plans or not. They they love to shoot themselves in the foot, as we saw earlier this year. So we'll see how things go, but on the whole, it is very cool to see and very cool to have that extra representation and extra eyeballs on some of these very high quality third party supplements.
Yeah. And, anytime that they add more third party, I get more and more excited at the possibilities of what could be coming. You and I have spoken about it, like MCDM a bunch about, anything from them being added, which would be a huge boon to any player
Huge
and
win.
any table. So like I'm looking for a lot of stuff like that, stuff from the GMs or DMs guild, like
Yeah,
there,
Kobold. I'd love to see Kobold stuff on there.
exactly. There's a lot of good stuff out there that, I mean, I really honestly thought that they might kind of stick with just Critical Role stuff because of how popular it is. But the fact that they're taking further steps just means that, there's a very good chance that they're going to be opening it the floodgates even more so and getting us more stuff throughout the year.
Yeah, yeah. So we will keep an eye on that and see where that goes. Also, between when we last recorded, PAX Unplugged happened, and Wizards had some presence there, and they did a few announcements. They announced 2 new adventure books for 2024: Vecna, Eve of Ruin, and Quests from the Infinite Staircase. 2 new adventure themed books. Quest from the Infinite Staircase is kind of another one of those anthology format books, which I've really enjoyed.
Yes.
Like Tales from the Yawning Portal, the Candlekeep, Radiant Citadel. Those anthology, the golden the recent one, the one with all the
Yeah, with the
like
heists.
heists and stuff. Yeah. That I'm not remembering right off the top of my head. All those anthology type books are super cool because those like give you like drop in type things that you can either run as 1 to 3 shots or drop into your campaign or do something like that. So I really like those type of books.
Keys from the Golden Vault.
He's in the Golden Vault. Yep. And then even bigger, and this is something that I was super hyped for when I heard, because you've likely heard me yelling about this multiple times. Vecna, Eve of Ruin is a campaign that takes players up to level 20 in a multiversal adventure against Vecna,
Which is very cool.
So
Very,
this
very cool.
this is super hype for me because this is now an official, like, I don't count Dungeon of the Mad Mage. I honestly don't. Like, it's great that it exists. It's more of a dungeon crawl than anything, though.
Then like a campaign and adventure.
Exactly. This, at least on the surface, sounds like it's going to be a full-on campaign adventure storyline that takes you to level 20. And this is exactly the type of thing I want to see, because I want to see more and more official support for these tier 3, tier 4 things. And that, because that will help players and DMs learn how to play and how to run stuff at that high level. Especially if it's official, because it'll get more eyes on it. So I'm a big fan of that. That'll be huge.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how it goes, because I mean, a lot of people are familiar with Vecna just through Stranger Things, which is very different because that's something that they took the name of Vecna and gave it to a villain there. And then there's also Critical Role, the campaign 1. Vecna
Yeah.
played a part in that. The Eye of Vecna, the Hand of Vecna have been artifacts for quite a while. So actually putting it into an actual campaign setting and everything and kind of playing through that is something that is very interesting to me. And I think it's going to be very cool, especially the fact that, like you said, it takes it to level 20. And high level campaign playing is something that we all really want to experiment with because you get some pretty cool stuff at 20.
Yeah.
And, the 10 levels before 20.
It's a very different game.
Mm-hmm.
It is. But I think it's a very fun game, or it can be a very fun game as
Yeah.
well. So I'm excited that there is going to be more official support for
Yeah,
it.
and especially this is going to give some people who are maybe having problems, working with higher levels and kind of looking at balancing issues and different types of encounters that can happen once players get to a certain level. This will give you a little bit more guidance and opportunity to kind of see what's out there and available as a way to do things.
Mhm. And then also during some of the panels, they mentioned more information about the 2024 books, as well as that the new monster manual will feature an Archhag, Ooze of Annihilation, both of which will have CRs above 20, um, and how there is going to be more support for high level or high CR monsters in general, which also bodes well, I think, for potentially bolstered support for that tier 3, tier 4
Mm-hmm.
play,
Yeah.
which is very good. The other really interesting thing is that they announced the release dates for the 2024 core books and then unannounced them.
Yeah, I don't know what I think about this because like I'm worried about the dates. They're
So they
exciting, but I'm worried about them if they stick to them.
Yeah, so initially they put out like their like key art and stuff, and on it it had May 2024 as the release dates for at the at least the player's handbook. But I believe that was kind of the here's when the new three new ones are coming out, was May 2024 or something to that extent. Uh, that key art and those dates were pulled and completely wiped. They didn't talk about those dates at all. They didn't mention them again. And as far as I can tell, we have not heard anything about it since. I was very worried when I saw that originally because I think that is way too early.
Especially with the playtest going on right now.
Yeah, we still have classes that are being tuned in decently big ways.
Mm-hmm.
We have not seen anything from the Dungeon Master's Guide other than like bastions. We've barely seen any new spells, and we've not seen a thing from the new monster manual.
Yeah, it's one of those things where if they're really, finishing up this and everything, they have to proof it. They have to, send it off to printing. They have to get it so that it's actually ready to ship. They've got to have the digital version. May
And that
just,
takes months.
yeah, May just does not seem like it's far enough away for that to happen, especially with if they still have things that are still open right now.
That like I that this is coming from me not knowing the full publishing process, but just from what I've seen from Kickstarters and such, and obviously a bigger company probably has better pipelines and stuff like that.
Yeah, or like their own publishing means and
Yeah,
things.
yeah. But at the very minimum, you're probably looking at a few months
Mm-hmm.
to get a book like fully proofed, edited, sent to the printer, fully printed, shipped, and ready to sell to people. So we're talking like them needing to wrap everything. If that date is real, they're them needing to wrap everything up and be ready to go by like February or March. And
Yeah.
that does not seem like enough time. Like it doesn't it feels like that would be I still feel like 2024 is rushed, but it feels like that especially is way too rushed. And I would like to see more UA. I would like to see more of what they're thinking I would like to give more feedback before these things become solidified, because I mean, they keep saying, it's 5e, 5e, what this it all actually, well, it's 5-5. That's what it is.
Yeah.
We're talking minor to some moderate changes. There are very little, if any, major changes
Hmm.
from what we've seen. Like, it's a there's some good stuff. There really is, but it is all for the most part fairly safe stuff. Nothing has been no They have not gone crazy. Like, they've had a few of the like UAs have had some like really big stuff in them that they then pulled back or scaled back or whatever. But at the end of the day, I felt like, man, this really needs to be like a Q4 thing. So you can really take the time you need to make sure this is in a good spot, because this is the thing you're going to want to sustain as a baseline for the next 5 to 10 years.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like, take the time you need to get it right.
Yeah. And we were talking about the timing of, doing all that work for one book, and this is three. Now, granted, I'm sure they have different groups working on each book, but still, it's a huge undertaking to bring the core three books to print and ready and everything all at the same time. But I will say, though, the sneak peek article that we do have, taking a look at what they did show for the 2024 Player's Handbook, I am a big fan. Like,
Yeah,
this is pretty great.
apparently one of the biggest changes beyond some of the stuff we've seen in the UA is the art.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently there's way more art. In fact, there is going to be art for every class and all 48 subclasses to have a piece of art to illustrate what they might look like.
Yeah, and it's not
That's
just
super
like,
cool.
Yeah, it's not just like the picture of like, oh, a dragonborn standing with a sword for a fighter. No, this is like full spread for a page fighter, and then gives information of like what their primary abilities are and kind of, their role in the campaign or combat and everything as well. And it's like pretty great. The fighter subclasses, the way that they have it kind of written out on here, they have a good mock-up. Has that, kind of side page that shows what you're looking at. The example they have is a champion, but it has all the different leveled, subclass features listed out in a really nice, clean way that actually I'm really enjoying. And then as you kind of dig even deeper, one of the best things that I think they have is having a more kind of illustrated version of the backgrounds, because in the current player handbook, backgrounds are just, it's a list, it's a thing or whatever. What they really were going for is having the backgrounds being a story. It's a term, this is where you're from. So, the examples that they have, like Charlatan shows a circus, with like up close, there's like a cart, like you're, selling things, or you're the weight guesser at the circus, like Steve Martin in The Jerk or something. The hermit shows like a hut just kind of out in the middle of nowhere and everything. And it tells you what your ability scores are like what feat you're kind of given at the beginning, your proficiencies and all that. And I really love the layout of it. It gives a lot and kind of bolsters the imagination just with an example that obviously you don't have to go exactly with what it shows, but it's one of those things that just kind of like starts those creative juices flowing.
Yeah, no, I really like it. I love art. I
Mm-hmm.
love art, and the fact that they are just cramming these books, chock full of art is a really big thumbs up. They also talked a little bit about the new Dungeon Master's Guide and the new Monster Manual. They said the new Dungeon Master's Guide will feature a complete campaign setting,
Mm-hmm.
all new advice for DMs, new magic items, including magic items from all the characters from the D&D cartoon. So that's a fun little Easter egg.
Oh.
And then the Monster Manual, of course, they said will feature more than 500 monsters with new art, new abilities, and more high CR monsters. Which again, it's that little bit. It seems that they are kind of trending towards the okay. We can try and support that high level tier 3, tier 4 play a little bit more officially.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to make it fun. We're going to give you more options, more abilities, hopefully, more monsters, and definitely that higher difficulty that, they just don't have a ton of right now.
I look forward to the day when we don't have to do monster fixer segments anymore because they're just all that good.
That day will never happen because you can
No, it will
always
not.
improve upon something.
That's right. Oh, good stuff. But yeah, so we'll keep our ear to the ground on this. It'll be interesting. Like I said, we hope the dates that were shown briefly and then pulled back are not the actual dates that they are going to end up being. We hope they take their time. We hope we see more stuff that we can give feedback on. So we will see how that goes.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so moving on. It's time, Ben, for the D&D Discussions holiday one shot.
Yay!
This one is I think we got a pretty fun theme. I think
Yeah.
we got a pretty fun. So here's Oh, go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
was just saying, we took about a minute or two before we started recording just to say, hey, what should our jumping off point be? And, we were looking at different things, thinking of, different holiday themes or specials or whatever that we had. And I think that we've landed on something that we've twisted it to the point where it could be a really fun little one shot.
Yeah. Yeah. Because originally we were talking, could we like do some like Nightmare Before Christmas type thing? So we kind of thinking about that. And then we kind of shifted to we've got the Christmas Carol, right?
Yeah.
And so we're thinking through that, you the classic Christmas story, Ebenezer Scrooge, the Three Ghosts,
Herman as
and
Bob Cratchit.
yeah, oh God, Muppet Christmas Carol. It is a holiday tradition
It
in
is
this household
the
and
best
will
version.
always be.
The best
Yes,
version.
100% the best version. But so we were thinking through that, and the redeemed man, and as we were thinking through that, it's just like it's a really good story that would be really hard to throw players into. So we're thinking, how could we twist and change this to make this to where a party could interact?
Mm-hmm.
So our jumping off point is going to be kind of using A Christmas Carol as a template, but we're gonna kind of reverse it.
Yes.
So the one shot starts. The party is attending kind of like a
winter
not necessarily
celebration.
Yeah, it's a winter celebration for a man. We could call him Ebenezer, who is very old, but a very beloved figure in this town. Has grown up, has lived a wonderful life, has given to charity, has helped the town out, always blesses everyone every year with Christmas presents. It's a happy ending.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It's a
you're
happy
at the
ending.
happy ending. And then suddenly...
Unfortunately, not everybody likes happy endings. So it turns out that a demon who feeds off of suffering and misery wants to take this wonderful man's experience and corrupt it. So that instead of a life of generosity and happiness, he turns him into the Ebenezer Scrooge that we see at the beginning of A Christmas Carol. During the party, something happens. A rift opens, and the hell spawn or demon spawn comes from the abyss and declares that your life is no longer your own. Your happiness will be turned to sorrow. Your good deeds will be turned to rot. And the demon opens a portal to go back in time to significant, happy life events of this man to corrupt them and ruin them, to make this man everything that he isn't right now.
Yep. And
But
as the demon goes through the portal, you see the changes start to occur, creeping out, spreading across the room that you're in, spreading out into the town, just changing everything around you. You are aware of what's happening, and this is the party's chance to go back, follow him, and make sure that it doesn't come to pass.
before the portal closes,
Yeah.
the party jumps through. You got to stop this. This cannot happen. Boom. We go to the first of our like three phases, right? This would be a great little. I kind of, and I don't know about you, Ben. I kind of envisioned this as like a three-phase thing. Like we'll have like the younger years, the middle years, the older years, and then maybe the final encounter with the demon itself, so that they can defeat it and not have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah. See, I'm looking at it as going just full backwards through time. So I'm going later years, middle years, early years, then like very origin, because he's slowly feeding on that suffering as he's moving further and further back.
I like it.
So
I
either
like it.
we can go either way on this. You know,
Yeah, let's go. Let's do that. Let's
Yeah.
go. Let's go earlier, and then we'll keep going backwards, because let's just say, like, if the party can stop him at each major point, maybe the final thing is the demon just tries to kill him, so he doesn't exist at all. Like, if he can't have it, and
He can't
no
put that
one
good out into the world.
yes, yeah, exactly. So, and that would be the final confrontation.
So essentially, you're slowly redeeming him more and more as the story progresses, like turning his life happier and happier as you're going back.
Yeah, making sure that all the happiness that happened continues to happen, and is not corrupted by this entity.
Mm-hmm.
So let's jump back. They run through the portal after this demon. What is the scenario in his older years? What is happening, or what was a significant event in his life in his older years that the demon would want to stop or corrupt in some way?
I would think if we're following the Scrooge model, at this point, I would say he's got his own business. He's got his, money lending and everything like that. So at this point, a tragedy befalls the town or the city, or, however big you want to make it, to the point where he's the one who actually makes the decision to help rebuild the town. He's putting in his own funds. He's doing everything out of the goodness of his heart. But what the demon's trying to do is turn up that greed, make him into something more of, it's mine. What are you going to give me in return for the help that I'm giving? What are you, give him that greed, have him give deadlines. If you're not able to build this or rebuild your building within the next month, it gets foreclosed and comes back to me. I'm charging huge rents on these things, taxing everything because you're using my equipment to build and fix things. Whether it's some sort of natural disaster that happened, or who knows, a band of orcs came through and raided the city. This should be his point of trying to figure out, is he going to be altruistic? Is he going to help for help's sake and be that good, kind spirit, or keep all the wealth to himself and try to grab more in this time of need?
So what is the party then have to do? What does the party have to do in this time period event to help? What is their goal in this particular scenario?
Well, I've got a couple ideas. We RP it out. so that they're able to convince him, able to talk to him, kind of through action, show him the goodness that could still be in the world after this major, huge tragedy. With them helping to rebuild, offering their time, giving their supplies, kind of things like that, kind of convincing him. Or they could actually help fight off this threat that's happening, convincing him to actually join in and prevent it from happening in the first place, kind of changing that altruistic thought and feeling on it in turning into more of an action as opposed to just, like a money type of thing, changing his whole perspective and aspect on what he can do to help as opposed to just kind of sitting back and funding something.
So maybe like tooling the scenario to the group,
Mm-hmm.
or the type, right? The either more role play oriented or the more combat oriented. Where in the role play side, you're talking to him, you're countering the demon's influence, you're helping the people, you're doing the rebuilding to make sure they get things done fast enough. Whereas the other side of things, maybe you go in at the beginning or in the middle of this attack that is destroying this town, and the attack wasn't supposed to be super huge, or maybe it was supposed to be fought off.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he himself is a fighter of some sort,
Mm-hmm.
and
Exactly.
or a retired paladin or something like that, but the demon has bolstered the forces of this attack, and it's coming on much stronger than it historically it did. And so
Exactly.
now the party needs to join in to help fight it back so that the town does not come to such ruin and demoralize everyone.
Exactly. Yeah. I figure once that's kind of settled, once that's figured out, then they see the demon. He knows that he's lost this fight, but of course he has some sort of speech about how this isn't the only good thing that Ebenezer has contributed. Opens up another rift, jumps in. The party has to jump in and follow. And where do they go next?
Ooh, I think this is um maybe this is the lost love.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this is um the one where we turn it into some sort of a to borrow the video game term, protect the NPC.
Yeah.
Right. This is him in his younger young adult years. He has some love, some person, whoever it may be, that he is attached to, or is his partner, and the demon then targets that person because that person was with him for a long time and encouraged him and built him up and helped him on his way to his altruistic, caring, loving self. But if that person were to die prematurely, that could potentially put him on a path to sorrow or anger or retribution that would keep him from doing some of the things that he should do.
Mm-hmm.
So I see it as kind of a you go back and you kind of see as you go in, you see him with this person, right? Uh, and you can do some RP of how they love each other and how they are supporting each other, and he's being helped by this person, and they're working on stuff, right? And then uh maybe the demon, before they jumped into this portal, gave a hint of what they were going to try and do, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's you kind of foreshadow the uh-oh, he's gonna try to kill his partner, oh no, type thing. And so then it becomes a, you have to keep him and his partner safe for a certain amount of time, right? Or from an assassination attempt or from some danger befalling them.
Yeah, and you can go about this in a bunch of different ways, whether it is, a direct sort of saving, like a combat encounter of, oh, some gnolls are going to be attacking while they're taking a walk through the park. Or you can like final destination this as, okay, she's walking or they are walking underneath a piano that's hanging from a rope or something. We're going to stop them from doing that. Or, like
Oh my
kind of
gosh.
alter paths and change different things and ways that things play out. And, you can also, if you want to, add an extra level of your party can't be seen because they're going to be seen at the previous thing. So all of a sudden it's like, who are these people who are just constantly showing up in my life? You don't want to like add that. I mean, if you want to, there's a bunch of different things that you can kind of play with this just because it's time travel. So but
Yeah.
I like the idea of them just like, oh no, they're about to step in the open manhole. Let's make sure we cover that up before they walk over it or something.
Yeah,
I,
I love the idea of a series of like the party is chasing after these traps the demon has set up and trying to thwart them
mhm.
as they're being set up or before uh Ebenezer and his partner get to them, uh which could be deadly,
Yeah.
right?
Like make it make it the day that he proposes, if it is going to be, or if you do make it like the love of his life. um you don't have to go that route. You can be like a mentor or a very close family member who
Yeah,
taught
yeah.
them this how to kind of act and be, and the way to be better and stuff. So it could be any sort of things. Make it some sort of significant event that's got to happen, whether it's the first kiss at the under the sea dance or whatever you want to do. It's entirely up to you, but this event has to happen, and they're on their way to it.
Yeah. And then once the party thwarts the demon yet again at this significant event in Ebenezer's life, the demon goes, I still have another chance. There's another significant event, and there's no way you can stop me. And then hops in a portal.
Oh no.
We
I,
better hurry.
I think we're jumping in after him.
I think we jump in after it. So the party jumps in after. Then we go to childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe there is what could be a significant childhood event
See,
that the demon could try and alter.
I was thinking about this. And in our pre-show, we kind of talked about, having uh, a bad childhood so that it kind of changed the course of his life. But at this point, since, we're going to do the final, if I can't turn him bad, no one will have his goodness end fight. I
Yeah, yeah,
think this needs to be the first time that he chooses to do the good thing. So instead of him being like bullied at school or something like that, this is where he goes and protects someone else for the first time. So this way, he's starting to kind of show that empathy, starting to, really take those stands and being the kind and good, caring person that he's going to be and then continue to grow into for the rest of his life.
yeah. Um, maybe he could see the party doing something heroic and learn from that and what to do it itself. Maybe there could be some sort of, I don't know, like the demon could corrupt some other children who are uh trying to corrupt him, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the whole like it's okay, join us type thing. It could be very role play oriented from the party because it's just like you'd have to get into the mindset of like a child, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, doing this thing, and what would you say to a child to help them help them along to do what is right, especially if there is some very um enticing reason not to.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
maybe the demon is providing that enticing reason. Because remember, the demon doesn't want to kill him because the demon is feeding off of the sorrow and despair that will result in him not becoming a good person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like this. And what's even better is if you're someone in your party has seeming, then you can all can be little kids and then kind of mix in with the whole thing as well. Um, but yeah, the idea of, some sort of temptation or, peer pressure into bullying someone else or um like gosh, any kid story from Stephen King. You can take any of those
Yeah.
situations and
Heck,
and
heck,
steal that.
this portal could turn the party into kids.
Yeah, that too.
Like like when they go back, they went back. It's far enough or timey wimey enough that they end up being the same age as him,
But still
right?
have
And
their
so that,
abilities, of course.
but still have their ability, and so
Yeah.
that gives a little more interesting RP, um, and a little more leeway to lean into those type of things.
Yeah. I don't recommend beating up all the other little kids or killing them or anything because, that might show the wrong thing. I think that this one is really more going to be heavily focused on RP than anything else. It's kind of,
Yeah,
talk to them and work through the issue and the problem that's coming to play.
yeah. Show the reason for goodness. Show why he shouldn't do X, Y, or Z
Mm-hmm.
because that leads down a bad path, right?
Exactly. Show that these other kids are the Draco Malfoys that you don't want to hang out with. You want to hang out with the little wrong kid.
Yeah, yeah. And then once you do that, once that plan has been thwarted, the demon goes, if I can't have this, nobody can. And opens the portal and jumps through. You go back and you're outside a house or a homestead or some kind of hospital type building
Mm-hmm.
or something. You hear the sound of a baby crying and you see the demon pulling their black sword dripping red with blood. It's time to finish this thing before it can finish Ebenezer.
Mm-hmm. Then you have your
And then you
final
have a big
battle.
fight. And the cool thing is you can set this up anywhere. So you could have all sorts of cool terrain. It could be in like the middle of a town or
Mhm.
something like that, to where you could get some really cool set pieces, have some really cool terrain to play with, that sort of thing. So you have this big fight with this demon, right? And then as the party kills the demon collapses and like burns away or melts away, and a portal opens after it dies and you walk through, and that brings you back to the present time where Ebenezer is giving a speech about pivotal moments in his life that changed him for the better. As the crowd cheers and the party looks on, knowing that they contributed to those moments in some small way. And that's where you end your session.
Saving Christmas or Winterfest or whatever you want to call it.
And whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. I'm really excited. I like this whole idea. And I like the rework of the classic story and I'm really proud of this year. I think I think we've definitely got a winner on our hands this time.
Yeah, I think like obviously we don't have the time to just like flesh everything out, but I think the premise itself is super solid and super interesting and very holiday thematic. and could make for a very fun, interesting like story, like short story.
Yeah, you know what we need to do after 10 years? We need to like get all of our holiday adventures and just publish them.
Oh my gosh. That'd be incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll just have to listen back. The first one will be like, "Oh, that's so simple." Meanwhile, our 10th one is like super intricate with all these different plans and plots and everything.
Or just find some like super cool freelance people and have them do it.
Yeah, that'll work too. Yeah, no, so yeah, that's our holiday one shot this year. The tale of or the life and times of Ebenezer Scrudge. Yeah.
Good. It's good.
All right.
I like it.
Me
I think
too.
that, yeah. I think that could be super fun. I think that could be super fun. But yeah. That's it. I think it's super cool. I think there's at least some good nuggets in there.
Mm-hmm.
So, as always, uh we'd love to hear about your Christmas one shots. We'd love to hear if you ran one of the one shots that we created. We know that there have been some groups that have
Mm-hmm.
run some of the one shots, which is super cool. We absolutely love hearing from them. I even watched a stream one year of one of them, which was super cool to be able to do. They did like fantastic job with it. So yeah, it's always this is always one of the things I look forward to the most each year,
Me too.
putting together a little holiday one shot. um on that note too, we also decided, since it is Christmas, why don't we throw in a little like mini Christmas monster fixer.
Yeah, just a,
What's
a, a
a
quick one.
Yeah, what better Christmassy monster to talk about? Not we talked about elementals. We talked about ice creatures. But tonight we're going to talk about the abominable Yeti.
You know, I hear they
Very
bounce.
very snow Christmassy evil bad guy themed thing.
By the way, their one weakness is an elven dentist. So if you have one of those in your party, you win hands down. That's just
Yep,
that's the rule.
that's the rule. So abominable Yeti. These are pretty cool. They are huge monstrosities. They're CR9s. So uh this is a creature that will probably last a few rounds, right? So we want to make sure they can do cool stuff. Uh as a baseline, they've actually got some cool things. They actually do have some cool things. They have fear of fire, which if they take fire damage, they have disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks until the end of the next turn. Right? That's cool. They've got snow camouflage, which is kind of a passive. Lets them hide well.
Yeah.
They've got a few actions. They've got a multi attack with chilling gaze and two claws. So claw attacks, obviously, slashing cold damage. It's your baseline, right?
Yeah.
They've got chilling gaze, which this is kind of cool. They target one creature they can see within 30 feet, and if the target can see the Yeti, they have to make a con save, or take cold damage and be paralyzed for a minute, unless
Yeah.
it's immune to cold damage, and you can repeat the saving throw. And if it's successful, they're immune to the chilling gaze. So that's kind of an interesting thing. They can do that every turn. Uh,
Now,
again,
big quick thing here. They're immune to that Yeti's chilling gaze. So if you've got three of them going, you can make it really bad on your players.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It specifically says this Yeti's chilling gaze. I think we've talked about before how what my thoughts and opinions are on like full scale turn ending things.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of them, especially if your con saves are bad. and it
Mm-hmm.
can be real hard to get off of that.
Yeah.
And then they've also got a cold breath, which is a recharge thing. Recharge of 6, where they excel a 30-foot cone of frigid air, con save, or a lot of cold damage.
Yeah.
So it's not bad. This is not bad. This is a decent baseline. But what could we do to spice this up a little bit, Ben? What
Well,
could we do? Could we add some stuff? Could we make some adjustments maybe to the chilling gaze to make it a little more player friendly and interesting?
well, first of all, I would get rid of the paralyzation of the chilling gaze, just because I'm with you on that. Taking away, or only make it for one turn, or like till the end of the Yeti's next turn or something. That way, it gives it advantage on its next 2 claw attacks. So, aside from that, I think we need another ranged attack. So of course we're gonna throw snowballs. But
Classic.
super hard packed snowballs that actually do some damage. Maybe there's some rocks in them or something like that. Or the Yeti's able to super chill it into a ball of ice with its breath or something like that. So throw the snowballs. You got to do that. Otherwise, what are you doing? You're an abominable Yeti. Of course, that's going to happen. Aside from that, I think it needs to have a charge attack. This thing
Ooh,
is
yes.
it lives in snow. It shouldn't have any sort of like difficult terrain, walking through deep snow or something. So I think giving it a speed boost and would only give it just that much more of kind of a scary feel to it. So you're sitting back and you're dodging snowballs. Everything's great. All of a sudden, this thing's right up in your face. I think that could be quite a bit terrifying, and I would totally give it one of those.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. I think that's a super interesting way to do it. Um one of the just to kind of even go beyond the charge, I really like the idea of forced movement
Mm-hmm.
where the monsters or the players can mix up the battlefield, right? So maybe the charge also has some sort of a throwback or a push that
Yes.
can go with it. Either something that happens automatically or something that you have to make some sort of a dexterity saving throw for, right? Where if you don't, the Yeti like smashes into you and tosses you back 15 feet.
Yeah, exactly. Because this is a huge monstrosity that's coming at you. You're not just going to you know, stand there and just be all boop. Oh, I just kind of got hit a little bit. It's fine. No, this is going to be a lot of force coming at you. It's going to, kick you out of your shoes.
Yeah, which depending on the range, uh, you could go over the side of cliffs. You could get knocked back in the snow, which is difficult terrain, which will make movement harder the next time, right? You could potentially land prone, which could, you know, hamper your movement even more.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing.
Be pushed into a
Um,
tree or a
yeah,
rock wall or something like that.
yeah. I was also thinking about something with like a bonus action.
Mm-hmm.
So with ice spikes, something
Yes.
that the Yeti manifested or whatever on their hands that could potentially maybe it's like a once a day bonus action or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. The manifest on their hands that give them additional damage. But
Yeah.
any fire attack melts them
Ooh, I like
if a
that.
fire attack hits, so then they lose them. So it's like something that you can gain, but something that the party can then deal with, which is always kind of an interesting thing.
Okay, I'm gonna add on to that. I'm thinking like Wolverine claws, like ice spikes, but piercing. And if they have some sort of maybe con save on this too. If it pierces through, it breaks off of the Yeti's hand, and then you have to deal with cold damage, like continuing cold damage while it's in.
Ooh, and you have to take like a bonus action or something to pull it out
Yeah, or melt it or something along
or
those
melt
lines.
it. Yeah, that's super interesting too. You could even do something like that where each hand has three of those claws
Mm-hmm.
And so since it's a once a day thing, it's only going to happen once. So fire can maybe melt a certain amount of them if it hits, or as they hit and they break off, you only have a certain amount of those to like stick into people.
Yeah. And you know what I would do? I would give have it that be like a bonus action at the end of the turn so that the party has a chance to kind of remove some of them before the Yeti's next turn.
Yeah, and we're kind of seeing that we talked about this last episode with the new monk
Mm-hmm.
stuff, where things just happen. They've got some features that can just happen, no action, no bonus action required, either like at the beginning of their turn or at the end of their turn or something. You could easily apply that to monsters as well, where this effect just happens
Mm-hmm.
at the end of their first turn or the end of their second turn or something like that, where or automatically happens at 50% health,
Yeah, there you
right?
go.
The bloodied condition type stuff, where uh, they hit a certain amount, they get something else, they get something new and cool when they hit
Yeah.
that 50% mark.
Heck, it's a Yeti. Give it a rage at a 50%.
Yeah.
Throw
Yeah.
another claw attack into the multi attack in the very least,
Yeah.
or extra damage or something along those lines.
Yeah, again, this is a CR9. It's got a 15 AC. It's got 137 hit points.
Mm-hmm.
It'll probably last a few rounds, depending on what kind of level party you throw at it, or there may be more than one.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's a lot of really interesting things you could do with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
right, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's fun to use that sometime. All right. Well, as we near the end of our show, I did want to shout out one thing, and this is why we didn't do something Grinch themed for our holiday one shot, because I wanted to do a community content shout out before we kind of wrap things up with the DM's Guild. There's a really cool book, very highly rated, called How the Lich Stole Christmas. And it is very much a Grinch based parody. It's only like $4. It's got a fun How the Lich Stole Christmas, a short 3 to 4 hour one shot holiday adventure for characters of all levels. And this is the cool thing. The encounters include variations for adventuring parties of each tier of play. Super cool. Super
Very.
cool. I love the fact that is done. It's like scalable encounters. So it looks super cool. There's a lot of people that seem to really like it. A few people have made maps for some of the encounters that are linked down in the little comments underneath. So if you're looking for a holiday Christmas themed one shot that you can do in a few hours, this is a pretty good one. So we will have the link in the show notes at dndiscussions.com. Definitely check that out.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of scrolling through, it's pretty neat so far. I'm liking it. Also looks like a good fun one to play with.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So with that, that pretty much finishes up our main show. Ben, I know you're still on hiatus, right?
Yep. Yeah.
From your campaign. You're going to be starting in the new year.
Yes.
I am going to be starting running my new campaign in the new year as well, which I am extremely excited about, doing a lot of starting to do a lot of prep for, working with players for backstories. We've kind of got we had our session 0, getting all the initial like plot points and hooks and stuff ready, but I'm very excited to start that, and I will certainly be cataloging that progression as we go on the show as well.
Very cool. I'm looking forward to it, as well as getting back into my group. And yeah, I'm personally, I'm doing really well and overcoming a lot of health stuff. So I'm definitely getting right back into the swing of things soon. So once work kind of calms down, it's D&D time.
Yeah. 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 I'm looking forward to getting back to it. Thankfully I have a good buddy who will hopefully be getting on the show pretty soon to talk about a little bit, who runs a Curse of Strahd game for myself and several people who have been together for several years now. That is an absolute blast. We are going to have him on hopefully pretty soon to kind of talk about building, running an adventure module, and like filling it out and running it online. Because not everybody can run things in person. Not all groups are together. So we're going to be talking about how to run campaign modules, what good way to run, how to supplement them with your own stuff if there are things that need done, and how to put together a very cool, atmospheric, satisfying online game as well.
Very cool.
Because that is a completely legitimate way to play, especially if you don't all live in the same spot.
Yep, I am I am proof that you can still make it work already.
That's right. That's right. But until that point, we will say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to all. Thank you so much for an absolutely wonderful year. This is certainly one of my favorite things to do, and the highlights of my month, as I get together with Ben a few times a month and talk about tabletop RPGs. I'm very excited and very happy to be able to do that. And we will be talking about more tabletop RPGs beyond just D&D. It's something that we have always tried to do a little bit of, and we will continue to do that. I actually super pumped because I am playing in my very first Call of Cthulhu game.
Ooh.
Next week. I've played several systems before, but this is one I have not played yet, though I've watched it played several times. There's a Good Time Society, the auction that Becca Scott did, that is super fun to watch if you want to see a well done Call of Cthulhu game. Taliesin, on the Critical Role side, did Shadow of the Crystal Palace, which is phenomenal as well if you want to see a well done Call of Cthulhu game from a streamed format. So I'm very much looking forward to being able to try that out and experience a brand new system, especially one where my character probably has like a 30% chance of actually making it out of the one shot alive. So it'll be super fun. But I will definitely be reporting on that one as well.
I'm looking forward to hearing about it.
All right. Well, Ben, before we get out of here, why don't you tell everybody where we can be reached?
You bet. Well, first off, I do want to say thank you very much. This year has been a ton of fun, Ryan, and I am looking forward to next year. As you said, we got a lot of stuff coming up, things that we don't even know we're going to talk about yet, because that's how the show works. There's always something new, and it's always exciting to get to chat with you about it. So thank you for this year. Listeners, thank you very much as well. It has been a pleasure traveling through the calendar with you. That being said, hey, if you want to tell us about your holiday one shot, if you want to tell us how ours turned out because you ran it, or if you just want to share with us, we always love to hear from you. So send those emails to dndiscussions@gmail.com. If you want to find us on the social medias, you can check us out on Blue Sky at dndiscussions. Ryan is also there at TBK Sword. I am at Ben Baumhofer. I also recommend that you listen to Plus 5 to Hit. It is an actual play show that I am currently a part of, and Ryan is also sometimes a part of. We have a lot of fun, and hopefully he's going to be coming back in the new year once we get back into Rime of the Frost Maiden, because I know my character misses him, or misses his character, I should say. But aside from that, definitely check out DNDiscussions.com for every single episode that we've ever had, which does include, of course, all of our other holiday one-shots that we've done over the years, as well as, join us on our Discord. You can find that link in the show notes, as well as on our Blue Sky profile thing, whatever the heck that's called. Profile, yeah, that's what it is. Anyways, it has been a great year, everybody. Again, thank you very much for listening. Have a happy holiday, Merry Christmas, whatever you celebrate. And until next time, everybody, roll high and be good to each other.
Thanks. And we'll see you in the new year.